What we find when we analyze any specific use case for artificial intelligence is that they present both risks and opportunities. Take, for example, the fact that we're infusing software to learn about ourselves. Any software can be hacked or manipulated or designed to influence decision-making. What does this mean for agency? What does it mean for privacy and security? Particularly when such tools are developed by commercial entities held to business models and revenue-generating standards and metrics. Now, simultaneously, we see brand new risks. We are creating new tools for personalized risk assessment to better inform us of, say, our tendency to self-harm, or situations that might trigger us, or even something as sort of simple as if I'm asthmatic, going into predicting different areas for air quality. All kinds of new capabilities for our own personalized risk assessment. This has never existed before. Simultaneously, we are creating tools that are always on, accessible to anyone. Just taking the example of mental health, there are millions of people in this country, an estimated 1 out of 5, who suffer from some sort of mental illness, many kids included. This opens up access, at the very least, to some of those folks. Let's look at another example. We're watching a transition from analog, what's sometimes called dumb buildings, to cognitive infrastructure. Now, this is happening in every realm of our lives, from home to car to office buildings to municipal infrastructure, but critical for kids' online safety is where it's happening in schools. We already see a $3 billion industry of school monitoring and surveillance software. An example of a company called eHall Pass, which has kids register every time they go to the bathroom or the principal's office or the gym. All manner of tools monitoring educational performance and beyond, both in the classroom and outside. But what we're also talking about here is this rise of the Internet of Things, of connected infrastructure in our schools. From door locks to identification systems to lighting, HVAC, to all those cameras, which increasingly are enabled with cognitive features and facial recognition and beyond. In China, they're already testing headsets which monitor kids' brainwaves to make sure that they're paying attention. Now, inevitably, schools will transform into big children's data hubs. School administrators are already grappling with this. A recent survey from CDW found that 80% of K through 12 decision makers think about the benefits of IoT as outweighing the risks, but this tension is being put to the test every single day. What does it mean then? What will the role be of educational institutions? What role will they play in data stewardship? Once again, new questions and risks and opportunities on both sides. As we increasingly generate data about students, are we inadvertently creating data debt? In other words, are we sharing this data, behavioral data, disciplinary data, developmental data, for college admissions, for employment opportunities, for loan approvals, or does this data stay in a school? It's important for us to talk about how these tools, or access to these tools, and exposure to these tools are inadvertently potentially increasing the digital divide. Who has access to technologies, to data, to tools and exposure and training around these technologies, and who does not? Simultaneously, we see major opportunities, already many examples of physical safety improvements in schools because of these technologies. One of the companies that we interviewed for our research, called Bark, who uses machine learning for social media and beyond monitoring, claims to have prevented 16 school shootings as a result of this. Again, using that language capability to analyze and monitor language as students are posting about these. Improved harm prevention. The same company alleges 10,000, I believe, examples of preventing self-harm of kids. And finally, we don't really have a shared forum to train and teach and standardize around digital citizenship today. This is happening all over. In interviews that I conducted, it's happening at home, it's happening in school, it's happening in community forums, it's happening at church. Depends. We don't have, as maybe you and I had a shared class for civics, we don't have this sort of standard forum today. And introducing a school environment, introducing this curricula into a school environment is a huge opportunity to improve online safety. All right, so I've just talked through 2 examples, and we see that both opportunities and risks come out of both of these examples. And there are 4 more. Check them out in the white paper. But ultimately, what do we need? How do we transition from what is today a culture around technology, around speed, advancing as quickly as possible? of unilateral approaches where companies don't really share their techniques and tactics. They sort of approach online safety often reactively when it's too late, after a crisis has occurred. How do we transition to a culture of responsibility? As these technologies infuse all of us and all of our world, they become a shared responsibility, and it takes a village. We are all together navigating uncharted territory here. So when I say it takes a village, who are we talking about? Well, we are proud to offer you a starting point, a framework. These are some of the findings that we have discovered in our analysis of sort of what are the roles and what are the starting points or actions for each of these roles. Don't worry, you don't have to read this on the screen. I think it's on page 17 of the white paper. But when we talk about government, law enforcement, industry, parents, educators, and yes, even kids, what are the actions that we all need to be taking? Also, what are the shared responsibilities? How do we approach this from evidence and research and not fear? How do we actually infuse a multilateral approach into safeguarding these new technologies? And how do we keep up as technology, AI is one of many emerging technologies, as they're constantly evolving? From leaders to lawmakers, from parents to police officers, from doctors to designers, teachers to teenagers, we all have a role in shaping the adoption and governance of our future technologies. All right, so in quick summary, when we talk about artificial intelligence, we're talking about humans' attempt to mimic cognitive functions in machines. And this will transform our relationship with information and how we make decisions, as well as how we interface with the physical world, as what constitutes a data-generating event happens all around us now, not just on the screen. Secondly, AI is presenting both risks to safety as well as brand new opportunities we've yet to confront. And it also presents new risks and opportunities to kids' development, to economic opportunities that are available to all of us, and to our abilities to secure and protect everyone. Finally, it demands a culture of responsibility. Many of these emerging technologies, data-driven technologies, are ecosystem technologies, and they require that we take a multilateral approach. It takes a village, and indeed, we all have a role here. I started with stone tools, and I'm going to end with stone tools because there's always a lesson to be learned. It's been said often that to date, the Stone Age has been marked by our, the Stone Age was marked by our clever use of crude tools, and that the Information Age has to date been marked by our crude use of very clever tools. And so I urge us to think about and ask this question today: how do we enable our most clever, our most responsible and safe use, or maybe our most clever tool yet? Thank you all very much.